Hi everyone, so we're going to go through how to do some problem solving when we have 3 sets involved. So for these questions, they'll be the questions where they give you all the information you need, but it is within Word format, so we need to take that information and put it into a set. So for this one, there were 100 people surveyed, so that would be our universal set. They tell us that this is made of 3 sets, which we will have sweets, which is set S. We have soft drinks, which is set D, and we have crisps, which is set C. So the information that they give us, they tell us 6 bought all 3, 41 bought sweets, 14 bought crisps and a drink, 12 bought sweets and a drink. They tell us that 31 bought crisps, 23 bought a drink only, and then 15 bought crisps and sweets. So the phrasing that they use in these questions is really important because that actually tells you everything that you would need for this. So let's keep that information there, and we should have the space here to start filling it in anyway. You can scroll back up and have a look at it if you need to. So we have our universal set, which has 100 people in it. We have sweets, we have drinks, and we have crisps. So let's start going through some of the information that they have there and filling it into the Venn diagram. There will be some parts you're able to fill in straight away. Other parts you need to find some information first and then go back and find other parts. So first of all, they tell us that 6 people bought all 3. So the section that will look at all 3 is this part here in the middle, because that is in our sweets, it's in drinks, and it's in crisps. So let's have a look at that. They tell us that 6 people bought all 3. So we can fill that in straight away, and that's that part done. They tell us that 41 people bought sweets, but they don't tell us any more information. We don't know, did they just buy sweets? Did they buy sweets and something else? Did they buy sweets and a drink but not crisps? We don't know any more information about it. So that means if there's no extra information, that's just telling us how many people are in that set in total. They tell us that 14 people bought crisps and a drink. So crisps and a drink would be all of this here. Now I know you're probably thinking that, oh, that's in sweets as well, but they don't give us any information about if it's only crisps and a drink. They just tell us that 14 people bought crisps and a drink. So that is the section of the set that is in both crisps and drink. But the handy thing here is that we know 6 people out of those 14 have bought sweets as well as that. So that means the remaining 8 people have to be in drinks and crisps, but not sweets, because these 2 sections here have to add up to 14. Same thing here with these 12. 12 people bought sweets and a drink, so sweets and a drink is here. So we know 12 people are in that section in total. 6 of those 12 we've already accounted for, so the remaining 6 have to go in here. That's that part done. 31 people bought crisps. They don't give us any further information about it, about what else they bought, what didn't they buy. So if they just tell you that 31 people bought crisps, that means that the total for crisps is 31. They tell us that 23 people bought a drink only. So the place that is a drink only is this large section here. Because if you look, that's the only part in the drinks set that doesn't overlap with anything else. So if they say this many people were in this only, that refers to the part of the set that has no intersections with anything else. So from that now, we can actually find out how many people in total bought a drink by adding up everything within the drinks set there. So we know in total 43 people bought a drink. They tell us 15 people bought crisps and sweets. So crisps and sweets is this overlap here between those two sets. So 15 people bought crisps and sweets. We've already looked at 6 of those. That means the remaining 9 people go in that part by itself. And since we know the total of sweets and the total of crisps, that means we can find out how many bought only sweets and bought only crisps. So if you add up 9, 6, and 6, that will bring you to 21. So those 3 parts here account for 21 of the people who bought sweets. 41 people in total bought sweets, so that means the remaining 20 have to go in here. Similarly, if you add up 9, 6, and 8 for the people so far in the crisps set, that brings you to 23. 31 people bought crisps in total. We've already accounted for 23 of them, so that means the remaining 8 have to go into crisps by themselves. And the important part is when you have everything in your sets filled in, add up all the numbers within the sets, and if it's lower than your universal set, then that means there are some people who didn't buy any. So if you add up 20, 6, 6, 9, 23, 8, and 8, that brings you to 80 people. So that means, so if there's 100 people in total were surveyed, there are 80 people within the sets. That means 20 people didn't buy any of them. And if you were to add up everything within those sets there now, it would in total add up to 100. Let's have a look at another one. So in this one, it's about the languages that people study. So in a language school, everybody's studying either French, German, not German, where did I get German from? French, English, or, oh no, it is German. Thought I read Spanish then for a second. Okay, so those 3 are the languages we are looking at. And they tell us that all students study one or more of these languages. So that straight away tells us there is nothing in the universal set that's not in the sets. So these 3 in total will also give us our universal set. So they tell us that there are 85 students studying French, 60 students studying English, and 25 studying German. There are 18 people studying both French and English, 10 studying French and German, 8 studying English and German, and 5 studying all 3. So French, English, and German all together. Okay, let's fill this in now onto a Venn diagram. So we have our Venn diagram, and we have our universal set. We have French, which we know in total will be 85. So they tell us 85 people are studying French. That doesn't give us any information about the rest of the languages they study. Similarly, there are 60 people who study English, and there are 25 people who study German. First things first, fill in the very center of your intersection. So where it intersects all 3 sets, and they tell us that that is 5. Work from there to your other intersections. So let's look at the top one there, which is French and English. They've told us that 18 people study French and English. We've already looked at 5 of those. So that means the remaining 13 study French and English, but not German. If we look to the left, so the French and German, there are 10 people who study French and German. We've already looked at 5 of those. So the remaining 5 people study French and German, but not English. And then looking to the right, there are 8 people who study English and German. 5 of those people we've already looked at, so the remaining 3 people study English and German, but not French. Let's look at the French circle in total. So they tell us that there are 85 students in total who study French. We've already looked at 23 of them between the 3 parts we filled in already. So if there are 85 people in total, 23 we've already accounted for. That means there are 62 students who study French only. Let's look at English. We have looked so far at 21 students within the 3 parts of the English set that have been filled in. There are 60 students in total who study English, so that means the remaining 39 students study English but no other language. And then if we look at German, there are 25 students in total studying German. We've already looked at 13 of those. So that means that the remaining 12 students study German, but no other language. And since they've told us that all the students study that means that there are no students there's nobody say out here, because there's nobody who doesn't study any. So now that means we can find how many students are in the school, or how many students are in the universal set, by adding up all of the numbers within the sets. So 62, 13, 5, 5, 39, 3 and 2. That means there are 129 students within the school. Let's look at another one here. So in this one, 100 cars were examined for defective tires. So we have tires, defective brakes, and defective lights. So those 100, that will be our universal set. So it was found that 12 had defective tires. They don't tell us anything else about them, so that means that the total of the tires set is going to be 12. 9 had defective brakes. Again, no further information, so that means there is 9 in total there. 13 had defective lights. So since there's no further information, that again is the information there. So now with some of the extra information they give us, they say 6 had defective lights and brakes. 7 had defective lights and tires. 6 had defective tires and brakes. And 4 had all 3. So tires and brakes and lights. Okay. Let's have a look at this. So our universal set, again, we know that there is 100 people in there. We have tires, which in total is 12. We have brakes, which in total is 9. And we have lights, which in total is 13. So let's fill in the information that we have so far. Start in the very center, so we know that there are 4 people who had all 3. Let's look up at the top, tires and brakes. We know 6 people in total had defective tires and brakes. We've already looked at 4 of those, so that means the remaining 2 would go into there. Let's look to the left, so defective tires and lights. So we know that 7 people had defective tires and lights. We've already looked at 4 of those, so that means the remaining 3 go in there. And then looking to the right, for defective brakes and lights, they have told us that 6 people were in that category. We've looked at 4 of them already, so that means the remaining 2 have to go in here. So now we have to fill in the sets by themselves. So we have 3, 2 and 4 people so far in tires, so that brings us up to 9. So that means the remaining 3 people had defective tires but no other defections. We have 2, 4, and 2 so far into brakes, so that brings us to 8. So that means the last person there had defective brakes but nothing else. And we have 3, 4, and 2, which brings us to 9. 13 people had defective lights. We've looked at 9 of them so far, so that means the remaining 4 people had defective lights but nothing else. But you can see very obviously here that not everything within these sets is going to add up to the 100 people that were stopped. So we need to find how many people in total are within those sets, and then however many is left over, that would give us the people who are outside the sets. So we have 3, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2, and 4. So that brings us to 19 people in total. So if 100 people were stopped, 19 of those people had some sort of defection. That means the remaining 81 people had no defections on their cars.